Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Barrel Shop. The ABV Barrel Shop is located in the St. Louis metro community of Arnold, Missouri. The ABV Barrel Shop is focused on one thing: single barrels. Best of all, you can try before you buy. Head over to abvbarrelshop.com to sign up for their email and text distribution so you know what they have in stock, what classes are coming up, and who from the industry may be coming in to visit. The ABV Barrel Shop. It's where single barrels live. We are also sponsored by the Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers traveling minibars that are no bigger than a small purse or toiletry bag. Best of all, they are fully customizable so you can create the perfect piece that is unique for you. If you own your own business, what a fun and unique way to promote what you do. Check them out online at thebar2go.com. That is the number 2 in the Bar to Go. If you have wholesale questions, call my friend Isabel Clark at 504-481-1297. Finally, we are sponsored by the Neely Family Distillery. NFD is a family-owned business that keeps ringing up awards in the spirits world. Head to Sparta, Kentucky to experience the family history, award-winning spirits, and meet the Neely family. Check them out online at neelyfamilydistillery.com. Now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today we have a special show where I'm going to be giving you a first-hand account of my time at Jack Daniel's for a special press junket celebrating 2 rye offerings that they have coming out. My name is Steve Akeley. Let's start the show. Hey gang, just me today, so I'm going to be telling you a little bit about this trip. I'm going to give you the background information. I'm going to tell you everything that happened, and I'm going to tell you about that great whiskey offerings as well. It all started in July of this year when I got an email saying I had been selected to participate in this press junket and would I be interested in going and spending a couple days at the distillery and, riding a bus to an event at a cooperage and things like that. And you'd think I'd be just like, whoa, this is incredible. 100% I'm in. But I was like, this seems just incredible. Why would this happen to me? I questioned everything, and I, rather than just saying yes, I responded with, I've got a few questions, and those questions were answered, and once they were to my satisfaction, and it seemed truly what it was lined out to initially be, this press junket where you're going to be going with a group of fellow, podcasters and bourbon writers, that type of thing. It sounded great. It sounded perfect to me, and let's not forget that one time Jack Daniel's was domiciled here in St. Louis. Tennessee started their prohibition before the rest of the United States, and they, of course, still wanted to be in the whiskey business, so they moved to St. Louis, and they had distilleries here and then in Birmingham, Alabama as well. So it's a fun little twist in the Jack Daniel's history. Ultimately, after prohibition, they'd go back to Lynchburg, Tennessee, where they belong. I mean, that's where their history is, but I love the fact there was this little diversion at one point where they were in St. Louis, which is kind of cool. So day one was nothing more than a travel day. So you've got people coming in. There's going to be individuals flying in. There were several from the Northeast, New Jersey, New York, etc. And they were going to come in, fly in, and we're staying at a hotel in Nashville. I just drove. For me, it's like a 4.5-hour drive to get to Nashville. No big deal. I just get in a car and head that way. So we go in and check into the hotel. And what I did is I just chilled. I got there late afternoon, and I decided, because I'm going to be off the next couple of days, really focused on everything that we're doing at Jack Daniel's. I didn't want to be distracted by all the things I normally have with the ABV network and then the shop. I mean, there's a lot of emails and text and social media posts and all kinds of stuff I have to do for both of those businesses. I was like, I'm going to get all this done up front and schedule them, and then I can just have my time to dedicate solely to what I'm going to be there to do, and that's focused on Jack Daniel's. So that's what I did, and it ended up serving me pretty well. I did get everything done and didn't really have to do a whole lot in terms of work once things got rolling. So that was the first night. I didn't go out or anything like that. I just stayed in the hotel and spent the time, getting things resolved for the jobs. Next morning, 9 o'clock, get up and meet in the lobby. and then we jump on the bus. So that's the first thing. We get on the bus, and you get to meet everyone that's there. So there's all those handshakes and, get to know everybody. There, like I said, there were 7 other people from the media besides me. I didn't know any of them on a personal basis at all. I'd never met any of these individuals. And for the most part, you're talking about writers and things like that. I think I had heard of David Tao before. I'd read some of his pieces. The other ones I hadn't. And then Frank, he's an individual that I had heard of, only because when Jackie Zykan went on he does like these Facebook Live things, he mentioned and tagged me in the fact that they were featuring and talking about the ABV Barrel Shop, because we had one of the early barrel picks with Hidden Barn. So I had known him from that. But other than that, I didn't really know the group that was there. But it turns out they're all great people. Every single person that was on there that weekend would prove them out to be great people. I would seek out these individuals, and they're doing some good stuff. So it was the guys from the Bourbon Lenses and, like I said, some freelance writers and stuff like that. Just really great people. And I have a companion piece that you can check out where I really go into the details of who they are and what they do. And check that out on the ABV website. So abvnetwork.com, and then click on Bourbon Zeppelin. So it's a special edition of the Bourbon Zeppelin, also out today, by the way. So companion piece to what we're talking about here. It's basically just a written form of what we're doing here with the podcast. 2 different audiences. I know there's some crossover, but it's a good idea. If you want to get to everybody, you have to reach out in several different ways, and that's why we've done both of these. So on the bus, Nelson Eddy, the historian for Jack Daniels, kind of brings us up to speed. He talks about Jack Daniels. He talks about the man himself, and talks about the company and history of the organization. He talks about why he thinks that they got so big. I recorded a great video where he talks about craft, and I think whenever we think of craft whiskey, we think of very small brands. But he made the pitch why you may want to redefine that. You may want to rethink that, because when you're talking about craft and dedication to making something, who does it better than Jack Daniels? I mean, they literally, make the barrels that they're in, and they propagate the yeast, and they do a lot of things that other companies don't do. And he was making the case that when you're talking about true craftsmanship, which craft comes off of that word, that Jack Daniels, you could make the case that they are truly a craft distillery. But that aside, that was a fun conversation. Then he talked a little bit about celebrity fans of Jack, how that helps grow the brand. The fact that it appears in movies and TV shows, and then people like Frank Sinatra that really like the product, and Keith Richards, and there's a lot of great rock and roll connections to the brand as well. That things just happened organically over time. They claim that they don't pay for those things, so I was surprised to hear that. I just assume that when you're talking about all these great artists that are drinking Jack Daniels up on stage and incorporating it into their act and things like that, they don't pay for that. Those are people that are just loyal to the brand. They like the brand, like being associated to it, and how cool is that? So that was very cool to hear about. So then we arrive at the distillery. Chris Fletcher's there, so we get to meet Chris, the master distiller for Jack Daniels. First time I've ever met him. He's never been on a show or anything like that with us. We need to get him on the Bourbon Show very soon, so I will work on that. I'm dedicated to make that happen. The PR team told me that we can do that, so we'll make that happen, hopefully sooner than later, by the way. So we get to the distillery. We get to spend a little time kind of looking around. There's artifacts and stuff like that. There's a gift shop and all those. We got to see a little bit of that as we were kind of gathering around, so that was pretty fun. And then we take a tour. So Chris leads us on this tour, behind the scenes at Jack Daniels. The first thing we do is we go to the rick house. To where they're lighting ricks on fire, and they're burning it for the charcoal. So they're creating the charcoal. So that was kind of neat. Obviously, it's this big, intense fire. When you're talking about making a product that where they make as much as they do with Jack Daniels whiskey, you're not talking about something that is very small. You're talking about pallets of wood, basically stacked taller than me. I don't know how tall it goes, but it was, and they light them on fire, and it's this great display. Lots of heat coming off. It was a hot day anyway. And, just to give you an idea of how well thought out this is. So we're watching this. It's hot as can be. It's a hot day. We're on hot concrete. And here comes the staff. They've got slushies, made with Jack Daniels. So there's a stand out there, and they bring us these in a nice, cool, refreshing way to enjoy looking at that demonstration of the fire to make the charcoal. Afterwards, they took us into kind of a warehouse type of thing where they have the charcoal stored after it burns down. And it's these huge vats, and they're like, you can pick it up, you can write on the walls. It's a cinder block building, you can write on the walls, so I did add my name. Steve Akeley is in that cinder block warehouse where they store some of that charcoal once they burn that down. So that's kind of cool. I'm part of Jack Daniel's history now. I'm part of that distillery moving forward, so hopefully no one erases that ever, and it stays there. That was a cool moment for sure. Neat to think about. So after we go through the whole thing, we see how the grains are made. It actually rained a little bit, but it never interfered with us. When it rained, we were kind of in a covered area, and that was okay. And Chris just kept us under there for a little while, told us a little bit more about the grains, and then we like I said, we saw the whole thing. We went over the entire grounds, kind of got to see a little bit of everything. We got to see production, got to see the stills, all those type of things, all the stuff that you want to see when you're doing a tour. But this tour was a little bit different because it was led by Chris Fletcher. One of the funny things when I was in that charcoal room, E.T. Tukowski is the brand ambassador, and I don't actually know where E.T.'s at now. He was out in California, then he was in Georgia. I texted him because I saw E.T. written in charcoal way up at the top. And I was like, how many people have E.T.? So I'm like, I bet that's him. So I texted E.T. And E.T. responded, hey, I'm in Alaska right now, promoting the brand. And so I thought that was cool because my brother-in-law and my sister live in Alaska, and my brother-in-law has a small liquor store, so E.T. was going to stop by there if he got the chance. It was in Fairbanks, so he said he was going to be in Fairbanks, so hopefully he had the opportunity to do that. But it was just cool. Nice connection there. But one of the questions E.T. asked me was, who's leading your tour? Because I guess he knows a lot of the tour guys. And I said, oh, Chris Fletcher. And he's like, whoa, So that was pretty cool. I thought I definitely impressed my buddy E.T. that day for sure. So after the tour was done, we went over to Miss Mary Bobo's boarding house. Really fun place. I've never been there before myself. I know that if you do barrel picks and stuff like that, they'll take you to there for lunch. But it is a place that existed at the time of Jack Daniel himself, and apparently he used to go there for lunch and that type of thing. So that's a pretty cool little anecdote that that's a place that he would eat at. We actually got to eat there too. So I thought that was a very cool thing for sure. And food was great. It's home style meal, pass it around. It's all out there, and they'll keep bringing you as much as you want and stuff like that. It's fried chicken. It was meatloaf, macaroni and cheese, greens, all kinds of just cool Southern food. That they couldn't be any nicer. They do these scholarship things where they bring in young people. They teach them the business. They get to learn basically all jobs of running a restaurant and that type of thing. And it sets them up for a career in that hospitality industry, which I think is a very cool and noble thing. So I really like that they do that. I enjoyed the food so much that I asked if they had a cookbook, and they do. So they had those recipes in a cookbook. So I grabbed one of those. I bought one of those at the gift shop and took that, and I'm going to try to make that meatloaf. We make meatloaf every year at Festivus, the holiday started by Jerry Seinfeld and the TV show Seinfeld, because if you watch the show, what they're eating is meatloaf. So I think I'm going to bring this little twist. We're going to try Miss Mary Bobo's meatloaf at this year's Festivus celebration. That is December 23rd at the Akeley household, by the way. So we'll try that. After the meal, which included, by the way, a killer dessert, homemade whipped cream. Whew! That was good. It was like a chocolate brownie type of cake or something. I don't know what it was. It was just fantastic. So I definitely enjoyed that as well. But afterwards, we went to a tasting with Chris Fletcher, and he let us try 4 different offerings. So we got to try the bonded rye and the twice barreled special release that they have it's in a heritage barrel. It's also a rye whiskey, and that's what was kind of brought us to Lynchburg, was the kickoff of those 2 products. So it was kind of cool that we got to taste those with Chris. I say that the bonded rye it's kind of it's like a jack of all trades when it comes to whiskey. It could be an everyday drinker. It's one that you could literally sip every day. It's affordable enough where it could be part of your collection. It's your go-to whiskey, if you will. Now, that's not to say it's your only whiskey, but when your base could easily be that. It's certainly that good. Nice little spicy finish, 100 proof. It's a good proof. It would hold up in a cocktail, particularly something like a Manhattan when you're looking for a little bit of that spiciness to come through. I think that would be fantastic in something like that. So, and also just a good sipping whiskey. So I think that's always the greatest compliment that you can give a whiskey. It's not a cocktail whiskey, though it would do very well in a cocktail. And the price point affords you the luxury of being able to put it in cocktails without hesitation. It is a great sipping whiskey, so I think that was pretty cool. The other one that we tried, the twice-barreled special release from the Heritage Barrel, that one is certainly special. That one you probably don't want to put in a cocktail unless you're really a baller. If you're a baller and you can just do whatever you want, sure, throw it in a cocktail. Drink it however you want. That's always the rule, right? But I think that is just a sipping whiskey. The fact that it's a heavy toasted barrel that's then charred, and it just adds some fruity notes to that rye that really give it a much more complex flavor. It also has the oakiness that you get from a double oak. So if you love double oaks, this is one you're going to want to try for sure. The Jack Daniel's twice barreled special release in that Heritage Barrel of their rye whiskey. So check that out. We did try two other things. We tried a barrel strength rye, which I loved, and then we also did one of their single barrels, barrel pick type of thing. So we got to try 4 with that. And again, great honor to be able to do that with Chris Fletcher. Pretty cool stuff. Afterwards, we check in, first time to see the Airstream, so you get to see this great area. It's an area called Barbecue Hill. I've never been up there before. There's this big pavilion. Under the pavilion, there's seating. There's a stage where obviously they do events and things like that. And there's a cooler with all kinds of water and soda and stuff like that if you're interested in any soft drinks or anything. And then there's a kitchen too. So right off of there's a kitchen, there's bathrooms and stuff like that. So just a really, really great place for holding event. You could really put a lot of people in there. Probably 150, 200 people, I would guess. I don't know. Seemed like there's plenty of seating, kind of picnic table type of thing. So, and there's an outdoor fireplace there too. So even into the fall would be nice, to be there. So I think that was really cool. And then of course the Airstream. So there's these Airstream trailers. I think there's 8 of the big Airstreams, so that's the ones that the media stayed in, and then there's 4 or 5 smaller ones, and that's where the staff stayed in. So you had Finn Partners, which is the marketing group that for Jack Daniels, they were there. You had Sven from their marketing department. He was there, the PR person, so he stayed in one of those. And then there's a guy named Bill who's in charge of this, so he stays out there too with you, and he's available 24 hours a day. So if something goes wrong with your trailer, 2:00 in the morning, you have his number to call, which is pretty wild. Just shows you the kind of dedication that they have to the people. And that night was just kind of fun. It was chill. It was laid back. We just had cocktails. People were playing bags. It was just a fun evening for sure. Or cornhole. I mean, some people call it cornhole, some call it bags, but people were playing that game. They're making cocktails up. So if you want like a Beam and Coke, you could get something like that. Or if you just want to drink, they had several offerings. You could drink neat. And we had dinner. Dinner was fantastic. 2 entrees, bunch of sides. Again, prepared by the staff there at the kitchen there. You get dessert as well, of course. And then after that, it's a pretty busy day. And I think everyone was kind of ready for bed, especially me. I'm an old guy, and I appreciated the idea of it wasn't too late of a night. I went to bed and got to rest my eyes and stay in my Airstream, private room. You could set the air conditioner down. It was really just fantastic. Couldn't have been nicer accommodations, and the fact that everybody got their own, just pretty darn awesome. So there you go. That's the first official day in the books. Don't worry, we still got another day, but what we're going to do next, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I'm going to tell you about Tuesday and what we did, all the great fun that we had on that day. We'll do that in just a few. Okay, let's talk about the people that make these shows happen. First up is the Stave and Thief Society. Via their in-person class at Moonshine University in Louisville, Kentucky, the Stave and Thief Society is the place where you, a bourbon enthusiast can expand your knowledge and emerge an executive bourbon steward. In 2017, I completed my executive bourbon steward certification. It's the most comprehensive bourbon certification available and connects you with an expansive network of bourbon enthusiasts and professionals. Check out the full listing of in-person and online certifications and join the society today by enrolling at staveandthief.com. We're also sponsored by the ABV Barrel Shop. The ABV Barrel Shop focuses exclusively on barrel picks. It's the job of owners Steve Akeley and Jim Fosnot to seek out distilleries that are making the best whiskey in the world, taste through their barrels, and select the ones that are off-profile in the best way possible. They have high standards and refuse to allow anything into their store other than something they would be proud to have their name on. This leads to some really awkward conversations with distilleries that can't make it, but they do it for you, their customers. Learn more about what is going on at their St. Louis-based store by heading over to abvbarrelshop.com. Last but not least, we are sponsored by Neely Family Distillery. Royce Neely is the 11th generation distiller in one of America's oldest distilling families. A visit to Neely Family Distillery takes you through family history, where you can see all the artifacts and newspaper clippings through the years from this family that started distilling in America after James Neely arrived from Northern Ireland in 1740. Today, Royce Neely and his team are crafting some of the best spirits in America. Their bourbon and absinthe offerings keep winning top honors in the spirits competitions. Recently, their absinthe made history as the first platinum winner in the absinthe category at the San Francisco Spirits Competition. Neely Family Distillery is definitely a bucket list destination if you are a bourbon fan. Learn more about their spirit offerings, visiting their facility, and the awards they have collected over at neelyfamilydistillery.com.
I'm Davey Waltz.
And I'm Adina.
And you're listening to the Bourbon Daily.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Steve Akeley talking about what we did with the recent Jack Daniel's tour. So after we went to bed and everyone retired, everyone started getting up in the morning. And the big call to action, though, is you hear the bell ring. So just old school, ding, 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 you know, the dinner bell, or in this case, it was the breakfast bell. You hear that ring, you know that breakfast is being served, so everyone starts gathering up at Barbecue Hill. So we go a little bit up a hill from where we're at in our RVs and go up and have breakfast. And again, staff makes it right there. Fresh breakfast. It's fantastic. I mean, it's old, country style cooking. I mean, you ask, what's the secret to this eggy cheese casserole? And they're like, as much cheese and then more cheese, cheese and butter, that type of thing. And man, it was good. So good. The breakfast was fantastic. Then we get on the bus. We head to Alabama, and it takes, like an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes maybe to get to Trinity, Alabama, where the cooperage is, Jack Daniel's cooperage. And so we get to take a nice tour of that. We literally got to see everything behind the scenes, from raw wood being loaded to, turning it into staves, to, cutting barrel heads, to putting the barrel together, to placing the hoops on. Every step of the way we got to see. And the coolest thing that I loved is we got the opportunity to put together a barrel. I was a little scared, to be honest. I didn't want to mess this up. I didn't want to embarrass myself because I know that when you're watching it, it looks easy. These are people that do this every day, though. And I know the fact that just because someone makes something look easy doesn't mean it's easy. And it wasn't. I mean, there's a lot of skill there, and I needed help, and as did everyone else. I wasn't the only one, but I got to put together my own barrel. And there's basically this big stack. There's a big stack of staves, and you just grab them, you think which ones line up well, and you put them in there, and you circle them around. There's like it's like offset where it's into the ground a little bit. You place those in there, and then you follow them along the track, and then put them next to the other ones, and you keep doing that until that track is totally full, and then you think it's done, and then the cooper that's there actually shows you, you can tighten it up and get one or two more in there, and so that's kind of fun. Then they put just these temporary hoops around there that keep it together, keep it it like a barrel, and then they drop it onto a conveyor belt, and it goes to its next stage where it is going to get hoops, it's going to get charred, all those type of things. And that was something that was just an awesome experience. I made a real barrel, one that will be used to age whiskey. Hopefully that thing doesn't leak. I'll never know if it does or not, but it's not like we got any tracking on it or anything. But I'm hoping the best for that barrel. I hope that it makes some good whiskey and people enjoy that somewhere down the road. I hope it's so good it makes it into the single barrel program. That's my, just like for your kids, you have hopes and dreams to what's going to happen with them. My hopes and dream for that barrel is one day it grows up to be a single barrel that someone gets to buy and enjoy. And who knows, maybe if the stars align, maybe I'll buy that barrel for the ABV Barrel Shop one day down the road. You just never know how things work out. So that's pretty cool stuff. After we leave, we do lunch on the bus. They had box lunches brought in, and then we went straight to the gravesite where Jack Daniel himself is buried. Once again, Nelson Eddy gave a nice little talk there. He talked about Jack Daniel's life and his passing, and the unique setup. Had a couple chairs by there, and the fact that Jack apparently was, I guess, a bit of a ladies' man. There were several grieving women in town, so they set up a couple chairs by the grave that are still there to this day, which is kind of a funny thing. And then Nelson also showed us some other graves of notable individuals buried in that cemetery as well. So that was interesting when he pointed those out. Other members of the family, those type of things. Jimmy Bedford, former master distiller at Jack Daniel's, he's also there as well. So he just showed you, several people of note that are in there besides Jack Daniel, which was kind of interesting. After that, they took us to Town Square, and one of the things that is there is called the Lynchburg Hardware Store. It's not really a hardware store anymore. It's where they sell the goods for Jack Daniels. But again, it's something that existed during Jack's life, and it's now taken over by the distillery, which is where they sell their merchandise and stuff like that into the community. So pretty darn cool thing, and a great opportunity to go in and visit that and see some of that logo merchandise. I bought a sign for the wall at the ABV Barrel Shop, so it looks like a barrel, and it's made from staves, and a pretty cool thing, and that'll be hanging prominently at the ABV Barrel Shop pretty soon. After that, we went to a rick house, and there was Chris Fletcher, and we got to go up in the rick house. We went all the way to the top floor. Hot day, it's pretty hot up there. You're talking, 120 degrees or something like that on that top floor. It was a hot one, but it was worth it, because once we get up there, we are told that we're going to be tasting some whiskey, and it's going to be a rye whiskey that is up there, and we were allowed to pick and choose what barrel he drilled into. So it was random. It wasn't anything set up where it's like, oh, try this one. This is a special one or anything like that. It's like Chris was like, you pick it out, and so we picked out a barrel. He drilled into it. We got to taste it and share some tasting notes as a group, which is pretty darn fun. And it was fantastic, by the way. Oh man, it was just really great. Definitely enjoyed that. And there's just not a whole lot better than being in a rick house with a master distiller drinking whiskey, drilling into barrels and drinking whiskey. That's one of the great things in this whiskey hobby, if you will. I do view this as a hobby. In terms of me being a journalist, I'm a fan like you. I'm not a serious journalist or anything like that. If I do things because I can write and stuff like that, I'm just a fan that can write. So that's how that kind of stuff works. After that, we went back to Barbecue Hill, but underneath Barbecue Hill, there's a cave. And this is a full-blown tall cave where you can go in. Apparently they used to store stuff in there back in the early days. Of course, being underground, it's very cool in there. So that was enjoyable to tour that. You can walk way back in there. It's something that they used to offer tours in, and then I guess the person who was in charge of it got sick of doing that type of thing. So they quit doing it. He apparently the thing was that he said there was a cave in, but there was a problem that was there for years where it looked like some rocks fell, and I guess he showed him that and said, we need to close this. There's a partial cave in here, so they did close it. No longer available for tours, but now they just bring in groups and stuff like that. There's some talk that maybe they'll do events in there in the future, and I guess some artists like to go in there, and they've gone in there and sang music, and maybe even there's some that want to record in there because of the acoustics. So that's kind of a cool thing. So There you go. What we did next is had a little bit of downtime, which is nice. Got to take a little nap, which was cool. There were, again, a lot of stuff going on that day. Several of the activities were hot, lots of walking, that type of thing. I was drained. As a 55-year-old guy, it was nice to have a little downtime going, nice cool airstream, and rest my eyes for about an hour, I'd say. Lay down, and then got out and went up to Barbecue Hill to the pavilion, and enjoyed some cocktails, and then we had dinner, and they had a band playing too, which was very cool. And what I love about this, again, this is a small event, 8 people, and they got a 6-person band there playing bluegrass and just, enjoyable music. It was just a special night. We all watched the sunset and got some great photos of that, and just was a good time. Great capper to what was really a perfect couple of days. So again, turn in probably, 10:30 or so that night, 11 maybe. Not too late, but had just an incredible time. It was definitely a special experience. Didn't want it to end. It was one of those things where you just wanted to keep going because you're having so much fun, but wasn't meant to be. The next day we have breakfast, one last breakfast with the group. We shared some laughs and kind of everybody kind of recapped what happened over the last couple of days. Just all had a good time. And then we jump on the bus. The team's with us too, so they ride with us. We go back to the hotel in Nashville. Stop by the airport for those that are flying out. For us that drove, we go back to the hotel and pick up our cars and head our separate ways. And there you go. That was my trip to Jack Daniel's. So it was a great time. I'd like to end this one. I'm gonna pop a cork here. I've got Jack Daniel's single barrel proof. So this one comes in at 129.8 proof. I'm gonna drink a little of this on the way out. So here we go. Okay, decent cork pop. It has been opened before. I would say these single barrel picks don't necessarily have a great cork after the first one. That first one tends to be good, but after that, not so good. But I forgot to pop a cork right there as we went out to break. So it's important for the record that we had that done for this show as well. So cheers, gang. All right, on that note, we're going to wrap this one up, as we always do, by talking about where people can find us. I'm the only one on today, so for me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website. That thing's abvnetwork.com. You got to check that out. Everything that we do is out there. We put all of our previous shows, our blogs, so much more, abvnetwork.com. Come by and see us. The ABV Barrel Shop. We'd love to have you try before you buy, taste those things. The other big news is working with the marketing team, and they do have some discretion on who gets some barrels. And I believe it's going to happen that we're going to get one at the ABV Barrel Shop, which would be an incredible honor to do that. I really want to get one of the rye barrels, particularly after tasting that in that rick house. So hopefully we can get a rye single barrel at the ABV Barrel Shop. I would be blown away. It would be the perfect cap to what is certainly one of the greatest weekends of my life. I just had the best time doing this. And I want to thank everyone who made that happen, from the ad agency to the staff at Brown-Forman to the Jack Daniel's team who was so nice to us while we were there. I just appreciate everyone who made this happen. It certainly was a special time, and I can't thank everybody enough who was involved. So please, go to Jack Daniel's, buy their stuff. It's incredible products. It was so fun to see the quality and the care and the dedication to the craftsmanship that they have at that thing. They're huge. I get it. The knock on any big company is that they're too big to care. They're not too big to care. They are big. They're very big. But it doesn't mean they don't care. And this time that I spent there, I could see that every step of the way. This is an organization that cares about their customers, cares about their employees, and I just couldn't say enough good things about what I think of that organization after getting the opportunity to see that behind the scenes. And I am more of a Jack Daniel's fan than I ever have been. And I've always been a Jack Daniel's fan, and now so even more. So really good stuff. So please, head out there, check it out. I think, it's worth going for a couple days. Visit the distillery, visit the town, make the most of it, have fun, and tell them Steve sent you. All right. Hey, if you want to get involved with the show, give us a 5-star review. It helps new people find the show, which is pretty darn important to us. And last but not least, if you'd like to, please head over to patreon.com/the ABV Network and check that out and see what we have going on the Patreon platform. On that note, we'll have a brand new show for you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See ya. Peace. Before we finish the show, let's talk about some of the great companies that support the ABV network. First up is Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro is owned and operated by Russell Creed, who makes stills for the hobby distiller. He offers a one-stop shop for everything the at-home distiller needs. Whether it's a small, experimental stovetop still or something bigger you run outside, he has the still or parts you would have difficulty fabricating yourself if you were trying to build a DIY still project. Additionally, he has resources to assist in creating unique distilled spirits, including heirloom grains, barrels for aging, and recipes. Check out Russell's company online at moonshinestillpro.com. Finally, I have a question for you. Have you ever boxed a bear? Of course not. That'd be silly. Bears really don't follow the rules, so shots in the back of the head, punches to the nuts, and scrums after the bell would be the norm. A better idea would be to enjoy Boxing Bear Whiskey, a brand crafted by Nobleton's Distilling House in Union, Missouri, and sold exclusively at the ABV Barrel Shop in suburban St. Louis. This is a popular offering that sells out quickly, but when you're in town, stop by the ABV Barrel Shop and see if they have it in stock. Better yet, sign up for their email and text distribution over at abvbarrelshop.com and you'll know exactly when it is in stock. This is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network, signing off. We thank you for listening to our programming and truly appreciate your support.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.